factor related to ecosystem, keywords of topic that ecosystem, food chain, food web, and energy pyramid. We also learn factors related to ecosystem. What is ecosystem? We have been learned 4 topic levels: primary consumers, secondary consumers, apex or top consumers, and mixed consumers. After that, we have just looked over after the food chain, food web. We have been detailed studied and distinguished between the food web and food chain. Okay, all this we have been learned very first session. Okay, then after that we have just learned about the energy pyramid. What is the energy pyramid? How the energy level decreases from its subtropic levels. Okay, then I have given you homework also. This is the very first session that we have been done. Okay. And after that, yesterday, we have learned about the 2 main cycles. Okay, first of all, that is biogeochemical cycles, which is related to, there are 2 different phases: gaseous phase, sedimentary phase. What are the essential life chemicals, how biogeochemical works, and how it is useful for the survival of a plant and the growth of a plant. Biogeochemical depend upon the 4 main factors. Factors means 4 main chemicals: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. Okay. Carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and water cycle. All these 4 things which we have been learning in this chapter. Okay, how carbon dioxide, water, oxygen, and nitrogen works together to maintain our ecosystem. Okay, and how it's important. Then we learn about the carbon cycle first. At very first, we learn about the carbon cycle, how carbon cycle works, and how carbon is important, and how we find carbon everywhere in our surroundings. What are the process of carbon cycle and recycling it after? Okay, carbon cycle found in humans also for the process of respiration. 3 main things: respiration, combustion, and geological activity, which generate carbon dioxide. Okay, how it's become unstable by the combustions of carbon dioxide. In fact, it's a human made. Okay. How CO2 is very important for the growth of plant by the process of photosynthesis. It produces oxygen. Okay, and this main topic, that how ultimate source of energy, sun, is used for by plants. Plants absorb solar energy from the sun and soil, and it absorbs nutrition from the soil. Okay, how carbon, nitrogen, and decomposers are useful for the growth of plants. And after that, we know that very well, plants are autotrophs. Plants are producers, which gives very first it transfers its nutrients and energy to the primary consumers. Okay, that is herbivorous animals. Herbivorous animals feed on plants, and after that, secondary consumers, carnivorous, feed on herbivorous animals, and tertiary consumers, that is carnivorous, feed on secondary consumers, and after that, omnivorous, feed on tertiary consumers, and after that, when life is over, then the decomposers plays an important role in decomposing by the help of bacteria and fungi present in decomposers. They recycle all this process. Means this is the continuous process and overall process which go by million and million of years ago, and now this continuing at the present. Okay, this is the life cycle that we have been learned yesterday. Okay, now today we are moving towards our 3rd session. Our 3rd session is by today's date. Okay, uh, energy flow in an ecosystem. Our last session of this chapter. Just look and keenly try to understand. It will be very helpful for your further classes. Now, today's key topics are oxygen cycle and nitrogen cycle. We have already studied what is biogeochemical cycles and carbon cycle. Okay. Now, third one is oxygen cycle, and after that, nitrogen cycle. As you can see, this is the Earth. This is the Earth and the oxygen cycle. As you all know that oxygen forms 21% of the atmosphere. We have all learned this in lower classes that the percentage of oxygen in our atmosphere is 21%. Oxygen have 21% share in the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. Now, it also present in hydrosphere and lithosphere. Okay. Hydrosphere means it's also, I have just explained about the what is hydrosphere and lithosphere yesterday. Okay, hydrosphere means water forms and lithospheres means it's earth form. Okay, combinedly together they form a what they form? They form atmosphere. Okay, now just look overall here. Circulation and recycling of oxygen within the biosphere is called oxygen cycle. Look at the definition below. What is the definition of oxygen cycle? Okay, circulation and recycling of oxygen within the biosphere, not out of the biosphere. I'm talking about within the biosphere is called oxygen cycle. Okay, now this cycle too includes both biotic and abiotic.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
हाँ sir, continue.
Thank you. As we know that oxygen is continuously produced as well as is used up in the atmosphere. Okay, without oxygen, can you imagine there would be a possible for any living beings to survive? Not at all. We can't imagine. Exactly that all humans, all living beings, animals, and plants as well. Plants release oxygen, but it also requires some proportion of oxygen by animals, okay, for human beings. So high oxygen is very important for all living beings for the survival in earth. Okay, now oxygen is as you know, circulation and recycling of oxygen within the biosphere is called oxygen. Okay, now as you know, this cycle too includes both the biotic and abiotic components. What are the biotic components? We have also already learned that water, okay, water or and all these things, that these are the biotic components. Okay, we have been learned very well in the previous chapter what comes under the biotic factor, biotic component. Okay, you know, abiotic rocks, minerals, these are all the abiotic components. Okay, all the living beings are biotic components and all non-living things are abiotic components. Okay, we have been learned. Okay, now what are the oxygen cycle produced? As no oxygen is continuously produced as well as used up in the atmosphere. We all know yesterday also we have been learned that man inhales oxygen and exhales carbon dioxide. Okay, this is the continuous process. Man take oxygen from the plants. Plants generates O2. O2 means oxygen for human beings and all animals. Okay, now what they produce? Oxygen is continuously produced as well as used up in the atmosphere. You can link that man how exhales O2 and inhales man inhales O2 and exhales CO2 from the atmosphere. Okay, now as you know, now look here, this is another topic. You know that oxygen is very highly reactive and it readily reacts with other elements and compounds. You know, oxygen is said as a very highly reactive. It's a very highly reactive with other elements and compounds. As you know, reactive means if it is essential for burning process, oxygen is very, from lower class you will have been learned that oxygen is necessary for burning. Okay, for burning, and it is used for any other for compounds. It's highly reactive in other compounds such as, you look here, as oxygen found in various form, like you can see that oxygen we can form in various form, in specially in a, look here, I'm just mentioning here compound H2O, that is water. Oxygen is present here. CO2, again oxygen is present here. Okay, and again everywhere you can see that oxygen, as oxygen is found in various forms like molecular oxygen, water, carbon dioxide, again inorganic compound, etc. Some of the inorganic compounds also we can found oxygen. Okay, now as you know that the oxygen cycle of the biosphere is extremely complex. It's extremely, why it is extremely complex? From all very small process to very large process, it has been described. That why it's called a complex process. Oxygen released in the process of photosynthesis, whereas it is used up in the process like respiration, combustion, decomposition, corrosion, and rusting, as you see here. And oxygen found in various molecule components. Okay, what are those? Decomposition. You look here. Decomposition. Oxygen is released in the process of photosynthesis, whereas it is used up in the process like respiration, combustion. Okay, combustion means, you know, for burning process. Decomposition also oxygen is released, and corrosions. Corrosion means Here you can look here corrosion and rusting. Okay, corrosion means क्या होता है? जंग लगना. किसी धातु को जब जंग लग जाता है उसे हम corrosion बोलते हैं. Okay, rusting. Rusting भी आपको पता है. हाँ, oxygen is released in the process of photosynthesis, whereas it is used up in the process like respiration, combustion, decomposition, corrosion, and rusting, etc. Now look here. Decomposition. In decomposition process, you see that how animals is decomposed, and oxygen is required for the process of decomposition. Why oxygen is? Because that also are all the living organisms. Okay, living organism decomposes the dead animals, and that living organisms is necessary. They require necessary of oxygens. Okay, that's why in process of decomposition, respiration, you know very well, human beings, and photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is also in the process of photosynthesis. Oxygen O2 is released. Oxygen is released in the process of photosynthesis, whereas it is used up in the process like respiration. Okay, now this is oxygen cycle. This is a complex. This is the oxygen cycle of extremely. Why it is said extremely complex? Look here. Biosphere. This is a complex process. How oxygen is so necessary in the process of photosynthesis, atmosphere, how it's 0.5%, and weathering. Okay, photolysis. All these are the very oxygen cycle reservoirs, and it is a flux, respiration and decay. Okay, this is the oxygen cycle, and it has mentioned it's a very complex process. Fine. Now, most microorganisms used for respiration, as we all know, many microorganisms are present in our atmosphere, and most of the microorganisms use oxygen for respiration. Always as microorganism is also a living being. Oxygen cycle, which use oxygen for their living process, are called anaerobes. Aerobes. Okay, they are called aerobes. Such microbes are called aerobes, which use, and those of microbes which do not need oxygens are called anaerobes. Look, what is the difference between aerobes and anaerobes? Microorganisms which use oxygen for their survival are called aerobes. Okay, you need to be mention this point, and you need to be familiar with all these points. What are the aerobes and anaerobes? And anaerobes, simple definition: microbes which do not need oxygen are called anaerobes. Means they do not need oxygen for their survival. That are called anaerobes. Okay, but they also play a crucial and important role in the process of oxygen cycle. It doesn't mean if they do not require a oxygen cycle that they are not useful. That is absolutely wrong. Anaerobes are also play an important and vital role in process of all of these cycles. Okay. The oxygen cycle, microbes which do not need oxygen are called anaerobes. Okay, now oxygen is important for the synthesis of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. These are all the important things: minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. These are all the important minerals, which is oxygen is important for the synthesis of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Okay. Again, oxygen, where it is important in ozone, as you know that ozone layer is very important in the process of maintaining pollution. Okay, means ozone, what ozone layer traps the harmful radiations from the sun. You have learned in lower classes already. Ozone layer, what is the importance of ozone layer? Ozone layer traps the harmful ultraviolet rays, UV rays from the sun. But for this ozone, O3 is produced from oxygen through various atmospheric process. Now, why it is important? Because ozone is produced from oxygen. Now, you can say that if it is not oxygen in proper portion, will ozone layer will form? No. That means the harmful UV rays can easily come inside the earth and it will be very harmful for all living organisms. Ultraviolet rays is generally harmful. Is generally harmful for all units. The ozone layer is play important role, and the ozone layer is formed by oxygen. Okay, you note this. Now it's okay. That's all about in the oxygen cycle. Okay, now we shall learn about our next and last topic, nitrogen cycle. Okay, the very last topic of this chapter, the nitrogen cycle. As you know, according to NASA, not according to NASA, according to each and everyone, that what is the percentage of oxygen? We know that percentage of oxygen is 21%. Look the percentage of nitrogen, 79%. Can you imagine the 79% is covered up by nitrogen in this atmosphere? Okay, in the Earth's atmosphere, some percentage of nitrogen is 79%. And again, that you have been also learned that what are the other percentage of carbon dioxide. These are in very rare proportion, but these are also important. Carbon dioxide, we have learned yesterday how it is useful for plant. Argon also. Okay, and other just other gases, neon, helium, methane, krypton, and hydrogen, as well as water vapor, are also present in the Earth's atmosphere. But look here, the percentage of nitrogen. It is about nearly about 79%. Means more than 3/4 also. You can say more than 3/4. Yes, absolutely. Because the percentage of oxygen is 21%. It is a more than 3/4. Okay. Next. What is the key element of nitrogen cycle? Bacteria. Now we have to study about bacteria here. The key element of nitrogen cycle is bacteria. Here is merely mentioned that bacteria plays a key element in the process of nitrogen cycle. As we know that nitrogen is highly unreactive gas. Means unreactive. Means is rather reactive with other gases. Means oxygen is highly reactive. Okay, oxygen, we have learned that oxygen is highly reactive gas and it readily reacts with other elements. But in case of nitrogen, we are seeing opposite characteristic. Okay, from this diagram, you can see that nitrogen is unreactive gas itself. It does not react with any other gases, that is highly unreactive gas. Okay, N2. Now, how nitrogen cycle works? Okay, look here. Nitrogen, just look here, going in the soil. Okay, nitrogen 79%, and this soils N2 from the all the weather conditions from cloud. Okay, from this atmosphere, it goes into the soil. Okay, now look here how bacteria plays a crucial and important role here. Now look at, these are the roots of plants. Okay, now all this nitrogen is very important for the growth of plant. Simply nitrogen is not important, but what second party which is the most important party, second party कौन सी है यहाँ पे? Bacteria, rhizobium bacteria. Okay, which converts nitrogen into nitrate. Just look here, which converts the nitrogen into nitrate, and these nitrates are important for the growth of plants. Simply N2 is not important. Nitrogen, nitrate means it breaks down into simpler, okay, simpler complex. Rhizobium bacteria, they break down nitrogen into a nitrate, and nitrate is important for the growth of plant. Okay. Now next, nitrogen means it's a nitrogen fixation. It produces a nitrogen fixation. You can look here, nitrogen fixation, nitrogenous enzymes. Okay,
Hello.
Look here, students. Rhizobium bacteria plays a very important role in the fixation of nitrogen. Okay. Now, after the fixation of nitrogen, you can see that in plants, nitrate is in the form of PO. PO means here plant cell. Okay, plant cell. You can see that in plant cell, the cell membrane, the vacuole, cellulose wall, cytoplasm, chloroplast, and nucleus. Okay. Now, in atmosphere, how then nitrogen is important for also animals as herbivorous animals. Okay, as in plants, nitrate is in the form of protein and nucleic acid. Protein and nucleic acid. Now look here. In plant, nitrate is in the form of protein and nucleic acid. Herbivorous animals feed on this. That means nitrate, they consume nitrate also in the form of protein and nucleic acid. Okay, that means for the survival of animals, herbivorous animals, nitrogen is important, because by the fixation of nitrogen fixation, rhizobium bacteria plays a very important role. He fix the nitrogen, okay, and generate nitrates, and then after by nitrate now produced is in the form of protein and nucleic acid, which is essential for herbivorous animals. And you know all these cycles goes continuously. Now this is the dead animals. Okay, this is the dead animals. As you know that dead animals decomposes, and they are dead animals who consume, who already have consumed the nitrogen. Okay, now the bacteria consumed by these dead animals means again it goes back towards the bacteria. Okay, by the fixation, then again the fixation processes start. Okay, this is called as nitrogen fixation. You all see that how this cycle works means by the nitrogen it goes towards the soil, by the then its fixation, then herbivorous animals feed on that plants, then after the dead of these animals, then again the bacteria decomposes these dead animals. Okay. Now, all this process is a continuous process and a rapid process. But it is not said a rapid process, it's a slow process. All the decomposition and ammonification. Okay, you can see that bacteria forms all those bacteria consumed by decompositions and ammonifications. Okay. Look here. This is the continuous diagram which I have been showing you. The same diagram. Okay, rhizobium bacteria. Now look at this process, how this rhizobium bacteria work in descriptions. Okay, it describes how it ADTP, ATP, nitrate, reducast, okay, nitro reducates, nor nitrous oxide reducase. Okay, all this process work as NO3, NO2, form NO, N2 and N2. Okay, this is called a gentrification process. It is not in your topic, but for your knowledge, I would like to tell you, for when we are studying in your higher classes, this is important. What is the gentrification process? Okay. Now, students, this is the final how the nitrogen cycle works and how the nitrogen is converted into a nitrogen fixation. Rhizobium bacteria, which is rhizobium bacteria plays an important role in the nitrogen fixation. This is a continuous process which you have been learned. Okay. Finally, we are end up of this session. Students, there are the question answers in this exercise. Okay, as you can see in the textbook page number 87, I'm not here to just tell you about that. You should complete your work. As you are a very good and smart student, you will complete by yourself. Okay, any of the problem regarding by the exercise, you can ask to your subject teacher, and this how we end up this session by the 3 session. Just I think you should know that from very beginning what we have been learned. At very beginning we have just learned about all those cycles, what are how energy flows, how we have learned about the food chains, food web, energy pyramids, okay, and then biogeochemical cycles. Okay, after that we have learned just about how nitrogen is important. Nitrogen share is 79%, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle that we have been done, and some of the exercise that we have been just overlooked in page number 87 that you have to complete it by yourself. Okay, students, thank you so much. We are end up towards today's session.